understanding the severity of this thing and understanding how important it is, and to be aware of how dangerous something like this can be. The danger of addiction and basically what it could actually lead to. You need to be aware. Big time. Hello everyone. Once again, this is Dare to Speak. In this video, I want to basically talk about what I've already done before. I've done a video on the whole idea of porn addiction, the dangers of it, and what it could actually lead to. And why it basically, from a psychological point of view, that it's not a good thing. I mean, it's normal. It's actually normal. I mean, of course, I grew up, seeing things that I wasn't supposed to at a young age. And also with technology moving way too fast. And how these two things actually, pretty much what they actually had to do with each other. Now, back in my day, of course, during the 1980s, growing up in the 1980s, it was the time of nudie magazines, if you want to call it that. Now, this was actually like one of those days when Playboy and Hustler and other type of magazines you could actually relate to. I remember my older brother with his friends, and they would actually watch. They would actually get something like this from either from their dad when he's not around or something like that, and they would just take a peek. This was the kind of thing that we usually do a lot during that age. When I was about 11, which of course at that time I had no business even watching stuff like this. Even my older brother and my younger brother. But that was during the time where basically you just get curious. I mean, that's just how it is. And then friends hear about it and then they watch it and they look through the pages and they laugh and giggle and smile at some of the things they see and they goof around and laugh about it, but then at the same time, it leads to arousal. It's only normal to be curious at that age, but at the same time, we all know through common sense that it's not really the appropriate age to watch these things to begin with. These were basically the kind of things we were exposed to. And this was way before the internet, way before all that stuff. After this, it was VHS tapes. It was basically porn movies that we would watch once we got older. When I was about 14, 15 years old, I saw my very first porno movie. And of course, you would watch it with friends. And even shortly before that, it was cable. At that time, it was like Select TV. For those of you who actually grew up during the late 70s and early 80s, it was TVQ, and then Select TV, and then HBO afterwards. And Select TV would have adult films after a certain period of, like around after midnight or something like that. It was that in magazines. And again, at that age, we had no business watching it, and it wasn't exactly healthy. And then, of course, after DVDs, watching it, after the VHS tapes became obsolete, then came the internet. You could easily type in stuff and then see things. Now, the thing is, through the years, from my preteens up until all the way through my teenage years and then my 20s and stuff like that, how I saw things get more and more, I would say, advertised, because we would see, first it was magazines, and then later on it was VHS tapes, and then there was DVDs, and then came the internet. Now, I remember like back in the day where there's like adult stores that I would go into during my 20s, and of course, some of us would rent movies, and then, of course, just like anybody else, just like any kid when they like masturbate to magazines, and then they would masturbate later on to VHS tapes of pornographic movies, and then there's DVDs when they rent them, and then it seems to evolve at a level where I believe it's not only getting unhealthy, but it's also, to me, in my opinion, also getting dangerous. I mean, back in the day, during the 80s and 90s, I really didn't see any serious danger in it unless the person is already, fucked up in the head. But the thing is, now with the internet, because television, of course, was also very bad. People saying that when you watch too much TV, is bad for you, and you get so zoned out being a couch potato, just watching television and things like that. And then now with pornographic movies that they would watch on cable, and then VHS, and then DVDs, I could say it was unhealthy. And I guess it's somewhat dangerous the way you want to look at it. But it's not as dangerous as it is right now, ever since the internet came in. But during this time, I think it was more like unhealthy than it was dangerous. It was said that it would just make us into zombies on just about anything we watch. Which is a very scary thing. And of course, just the whole idea of being on the internet for other things like social media, how, according to popular rumor, we're being hypnotized, drawn to it, and it becomes too difficult to even stray away from it. And it impacts our lives in a very unbelievable level. it was also said that we will get hypnotized to the level that we get so drawn into it that we just imprison ourselves. Making us into mindless zombies. And the whole idea of just being drawn to it is just so extreme that we just imprison ourselves and we don't even know it.
Quagmire? Hey, nobody's seen you in days.
Hey, Peter. I've just been, checking out some of that internet porn.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just gonna go and check my mail over there.
You been lifting weights?
No. No, I don't think, no. I'm sorry, Peter. I gotta get back.
Now, even though that last example was, comedy, it does prove a point that when you're a person who gets addicted to it to a level that you start, masturbating too much, and the arousal of the sexual arousal gets so intense that you shut yourself out from the outside world. Now, of course, some people are worse than others, that kind of thing. Now, I'm not really gonna get too much into what's really behind it, what's really caused the real cause of it. I mean, I do know, but it's gonna take a lot of explanation and going into detail. But I'm gonna try to summarize it as the best I could. The addiction, of course, is like what you say is like I said before, is hypnotizing. And since technology is getting so advanced now, and pornography, and not just that, but just basically everything else. There's people that are on Twitter. There's people that are on Facebook. And I'm not that I'm saying that it's a bad thing. I mean, too much of something is considered a bad thing. Now, I don't see anything wrong with somebody, watching porn every now and then, especially, just as long as it's not anything underground or illegal. But, if they do that every now and then, just to get off and stuff like that, okay, fine. I mean, there's no big deal. I mean, I don't see any danger in that. But if it starts to become an addiction, I don't necessarily think that it's just all the fault on the person, on the individual himself or herself, if women do that too. But the thing is, of course, 50% of the reason is because that person just has a problem. Because remember, even before the internet, even before all that, and even before DVDs and VHS tapes, there was magazines. And then, of course, there's peep shows, and, back in the day, and then there was strip clubs and things like that. But that only proves that it's just a major problem for that person who's not really all up there. But now I think it's been taken to another level in which the other 50% of the problem is because of the fact that there's companies that are just out to make money. And just like anything else, just like with drugs and other things, pornography is a perfect business. And it's also a perfect way to make a great deal of money off of addiction. Sexual perverted addiction, there's a great deal of profit to be made off of it. So, of course, they're going to use subliminal messages. And that example that I showed with the TV, with how it hypnotizes you, and they do that, for a quick buck. Now, there's also another aspect of it which I don't want to get into right now, but it does have to do with the dark, sinister side of it. And I'm just going to say briefly that there's something else that's behind it that's causing people to not only get aroused and addicted to it and stuff like that, but their energy is being vacuumed. Part of their humanity is being vacuumed of their aura, and the screen of whether it's a smartphone, whether it's a laptop or a regular computer, it doesn't really matter. It acts as a conduit. And there's actually, I'm going to call them entities. I'm just going to leave it at that. And they just pretty much, steal your essence, steal your energy, and to fulfill their agenda. And that's the disturbing side. And, that's a whole nother thing to talk about. And I think I actually talked about it in one video that I did about porn addiction. I'm pretty sure I must have talked about it, but if I didn't, I'll just check, and I'll just do one that's basically on that. And it's really going to sound crazy, but it does make sense. It's perfectly normal to get into that kind of stuff. It's not healthy, for one, if you do it at a very young age. But since all this kind of stuff is all around us, and parents have to put major effort into keeping their kids away from that kind of stuff. But once they reach a certain age, at the age of 12, 13, 14, when they start to get curious, of course, seeing porn is not something that any parent can successfully hide their children from. And of course, they're going to find ways to watch it. So it's only normal. So that's why you need to have a talk to your kids. Now, for teenagers or for adults, actually, when you stop and realize that you're getting addicted to it to the point that it's basically taking control of your life, that's when you need to realize that something's wrong. It takes practice, but it can be done. You can, not to necessarily quit cold turkey, because my God, that's never going to happen. But to actually minimize how often you see it, how many times you see it, that can be done. It can be greatly minimized, a little bit by degrees. It takes practice. And, like I said, it's normal. Just for people that are, in their 20s and 30s or whatever, when you feel that you actually are getting into it too much, and you stop and realize it, then that's you need to make an effort into putting all your focus on finding a very healthy outlet, something else to do. And of course, right now with the whole COVID thing, it's not going to be all that easy, but there's other things that are very addicting that's also very bad for you. We just do it too much, and that's basically it. It's the other things about the whole dark entities that are stealing your aura, using the screen from the TV, smartphone, laptop, and computer as a conduit is another thing that's very, very important to know. But of course, not everybody's going to believe it. That's just, that's just the kind of thing. And hopefully I covered just about all the things that I need to talk about. So, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Questions or comments, you know what to do. And this is Dare to Speak. And to all of you, take care.